Today we're going to talk about an opportunity where if you ever have a ground floor presence in your co-working footprint, especially for the smaller buildings, investigate the opportunity to be able to provide a widening building concierge service, right? Because you got to understand a lot of these smaller assets don't have the budget to have a concierge. However, the co-working could be a Trojan horse or vehicle to provide some form of service like that for the building at an affordable rate, because it's also, semi-housed within your own Flex P&L. And it could be an opportunity for you not just to develop more of a partnership with the landlord, but also be comped for it. So we've done this with a couple of recent projects, and I just wanted to share some of that thinking behind it. So within this building, let's say you're co-working, you get a small amount on the ground floor and level 1, right? And this asset does not have a building concierge. I've got 2 floor plans down here to help explain what this could look like if you wanted to at least propose to the owner, if this is a new development or you're just going in, what could it look like if you took on that service? So let's say you only have 600 square meters of the 1,400 square meters, let's call it that big of the floor plan within the ground floor, and it's in this area here. Well, as soon as a customer enters, you could structure your Flex Concierge in a way where their line of sight also opens to see who's coming within the building. And let's say you've got stairs here, this square, which goes here on level 1. I think this is a great opportunity to also provide a continuous experience for any Flex customers going within your co-working space, which kind of brings us into what does that look like from a full-time staffing perspective. So let's say if we add these two together, you're responsible for 2,000 square meters. Depending on how you run that model, you normally would have 2 to 3 full-time staff, right? And that would be a center manager in charge, and they would either have a community manager and a concierge reporting into them. Or that could be hybridized, right, into one role going into that person. I think if you explore this one where it's a building concierge, it pushes into the 3 full-time staff category. So you really need to understand what that owner is willing to do to also receive this building-wide service, because it improves the experience for everyone else, right, within the building, because now they've got access to a concierge as soon as they walk through, and potentially services added onto it. What does that look like for your product mix aside from a staffing angle? Well, the 600 square meters on the ground floor, now that it's turning into more of a building concierge service, is going to be highly amenitized. So forget about putting war rooms, project spaces, private offices down there. It's going to be very communal. You're going to have meeting rooms, maybe the larger ones down there. I would put the larger board-style meeting rooms down there so that people can go down and use it. If there's an event space, put it down there as well, because there could be some form of activation that the owner wants to see. And then on level 1, you'd have your usual who's who in the mix. Like for a 2,000 square meter space, I'd say overall you're looking at, so if you've got 2,000 square meters, we'll go more generous in terms of desk density ratio here. We'll go for 6.5 to 7. We'll go with 7. So you've got about 285 desks and 285 times 90%. And that's about 260 in private office. And what's that? 25 open plan. So the open plan desks, some of them potentially could go down on the ground floor. It really depends on how you lay this out, right? But then level 1 is going to look largely like this, probably, where all of these are your private offices wrapped around the facade to achieve that density ratio. Level 1 being 1,400 square meters. I wouldn't be surprised if that's more of a, I won't do the calculation, but the desk density on level 1 would be closer to a 5.5, because you don't have the density on the ground floor, right? So you're going to have to look into your facilities, your bathrooms, all of that kind of stuff. But I guess the point of this video is to demonstrate if there is an opportunity where you've got level 1 ground floor, if you can very thoughtfully design for your flex concierge to be positioned on the ground floor in a way that whilst their main scope is to look after the co-working tenancy, they can also look after that wider ground floor plane. It delivers incredible value to that building, which is probably a smaller asset that normally can't afford to have a building concierge. So if you start ticking those boxes, I think the whole management agreement conversation with the owner becomes more appetizing for them, that risk factor, because you're doing stuff for the building, not just your own tenancy. So hopefully that was helpful. I'll stop there. And have a great Christmas break and have a happy ho ho holidays. That was really shit. Okay, I'll speak to you soon.